It's been one of those things. Like this whole thing came about because Fedra and I are obsessed with corruption at the moment, with tongue, family, and cheek. And I put it out on the Instagram stories. Show me some Robin Hood type corruption examples. Who are the best people who have engaged in our kind of corruption? And you just like, it was hundreds of people saying, oh, you must have heard this podcast, The Glitch. What the fuck are you talking about? So I've done a bit of digging, and I think I put something up and said, oh, it's find me this man. It was like 10 minutes later, we were talking to each other.
I'm a friend of the show, mate. What can I say? You know what I mean?
Our favourite line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so weird because you do a podcast and you don't think, like you don't have any expectations about who listens to it. It was almost a form of like just getting it all out, I guess, just spewing it all out and, and they chop it up and make a podcast.
Yeah.
And, I didn't think, much of it when I did it. But yeah, like it's, I think a lot of the story is not really about me. It's more just about a bloke who's normal, found something that was extraordinary and just sort of went for it.
Amongst many things, that's one of the things I took from it. It just almost sounded like my inner thoughts coming out. It did sound like a bit of therapy for you. Like
it was. Yeah. I mean, you kind of like, you unpack it all and like, writing a book with a ghostwriter at the moment, and you go through every single intricate detail, and then you have a look at your life now, sort of, 10 years later or 14 years later, and you kind of like, geez, that was
something.
There was some real loose moments, and you just, you kind of like, it is, because you go back over it and you go, why did I do that? And what was that about? And yeah, I mean, it's not, don't regret any of it, but it was just, it was interesting. It's always interesting going back through it. And like, I have these two separate lives now where there's like, there's a life where I do stuff like this, and I come and, have a chat and, and then there's just normal life. And it's like, this doesn't exist. And then I'll get a phone call and it's like, oh, we want to talk to you about it. And I go, oh yeah, that's right.
That's right. That happened.
Thing happened.
And it was, for anyone listening, we never really do intros and stuff, but could you sort of run us high level through what happened, I guess? Yeah.
I mean, so I'm working in Wangaratta, which is a beautiful little town, northwest Victoria, and northeast Victoria.
Can't say I've been there myself.
Anyway, yeah.
Great footy club up there, actually, the Rovers.
Good people up there. I was working at a place called the West Side Tavern, which is, it's it's literally on the west side of Wangaratta, obviously. And, really small place. When I was there, really small place, just locals, very, very sort of, the Garbo comes in first, 10 a.m., has his two, then, the bloke from the factory comes in. All the people come in exactly, just off knock-off time.
Yeah.
Everything happens the same. It's not, it's not a place where, David Hasselhoff's not about to walk in. You know what I mean? Like, not much happens at the West Side Tavern.
We've got to get to Hasselhoff later. I haven't forgotten about a little detail you mentioned.
So just a normal joint. And I had this mate, he was a chef. His name was Mark. And we'd always go for beers at the GC or the Zoo, it was called, in town after we'd finished work. And so I'd meet him in there sort of about usually 10:30, 11 o'clock. And we'd just have a few pints, talk about the day or whatever, just talk random stuff. And this particular night was like a Tuesday, and I'd run out of money in my wallet, and it was, it's always a couple of days before payday.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any cash, but I went, I'll just go to the ATM and try and get something out. So I tried to get a balance on my savings account, but it wouldn't give me a balance. It just said transaction unavailable at this time.
Right.
It was probably about, at this stage, it was probably about 10 past 12. So I thought, I had a credit card linked to the savings account. So I thought I'll try and transfer $200 from my credit card to my savings account. And so I did that, and it just said transaction cancelled, and the card came out. Yep. So I thought, that's weird. So I just tried to get a balance again on the savings account, but it still wouldn't give me one. It said balance unavailable. So I just put the card back in and just tried to get the 200 out as if it had worked. And the money came out. So I was like, oh, yeah, no worries.
Yep.
Happy days. Went back to the bar and just continued drinking. And then, we probably got kicked out about, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes later it would have been, that things don't open too late in Wangaratta. There's not much happening. So it was raining, I remember, and I walked past that same ATM, and I had in the back of my mind, it was pretty weird. I was like, oh, it's not really like that. It was
Did you
weird.
think it was like an overdraw thing?
No, it was just like the bank was disconnected.
Right.
It didn't know what was going on. So it was just like, oh, well, I'll just try that again. As you do. Right?
Yes.
Because it wasn't like I was going to go anywhere. There was nowhere to go. It was Wangaratta, So I just sort of put the card in, and then I tried to get a balance again, and it wouldn't give me one. So then I put it in again. I'm like, okay, we're just going to do that transfer thing. So I just transferred another 200. And so I just put the card back in when it said, so it says transaction cancelled, and then the card just comes out. I don't ask for it to come out. It just says transaction cancelled and comes out. So then I put the card back in, put the PIN number back in, withdraw 200s out of the savings, comes out. And I'm like,
the money is real.
the money's real, but it didn't come from anywhere. This is weird.
So
it
you
must
definitely didn't have that in your account. You
no,
knew that you didn't
no,
have that in
no,
your account.
no. I didn't have that in my account because the account was bare. The only other account I had was like a joint account with the missus.
Yep.
But I couldn't access that
Yeah.
without going into the actual bank. So I just did that over and over again until I had two cards. I had the credit card and I had a savings account card. And so I got $1,000 on each card and just went home.
Yep.
And sort of thought it was nothing of it. Just walked home. And then woke up in the morning. I thought it was a dream. I was like, oh, that's pretty crazy dream you had. And then I looked over on the bedstand. It's like the cash is in the wallet, I like to say it was like a Velcro rip curl wallet, but it wasn't. It was like it was bulging. It never bulged that much before. So I kind of looked at the money and I was like, oh, well, that was real. Wow, okay. And just didn't really, I thought, well, I'm going to have to pay the money back, obviously. But being the, Aussie opportunist I was at the time, I thought, well, maybe I could double it. Of course,
of course.
So I thought, oh, maybe I could double it. And I bought a few other things that I sort of, had my on. And so kind of left the account alone and just over the next sort of 48 hours, tried my absolute hardest to double it. And you can imagine how that went. Went real well. So I had $0 again. So I went back to the ATM at similar time, and I got a balance on my savings account. It did give me a balance this time, and so it was minus. There was $3 in the savings account originally, so it was minus $1,997 basically. And I was like, okay, right. So I've transferred money from the credit card to the savings account, and I got the money out of the savings account. So the debit has gone into the savings account. So this credit card balance is not moving, right? So I worked out the first thing. I'm like, okay, well, so all the money that ever is going to come out is only going to show on the savings account.
There's no deficit on the credit card with interest.
But
accruing.
the software is allowing me to transfer from the credit card to the savings. Right. So that's what I know at this point. But I'm not, the only time I'd seen the police previous to this was they told me my dad passed away when I was 15. And that's not that's just, I had no contact with, like I had never done anything wrong in my life. Right. So I'm like, okay, great. So I've got this debt now. And then I just put in the card and I'm like, I wonder if you can still transfer. So I made sure once you cook the perfect chicken, you don't stuff around with it. You know what I mean? Like if you know it's 40 minutes at 195, then that's what you do. So I went back the same time.
Writing that down.
Time. And so I put the card in. It would give me a balance this time, But I put the card in and I transferred 2,000. I didn't think anything would happen. Transferred 2,000 from my credit card to my savings account and said transaction cancelled. Card comes out. I'm like, okay, that's good. That's what happened last time. Put the card back in. I can't tell you how quick I put that card back in. I wanted to know. I was like,
one finger there,
put that card back in, put the pin in, and you got all the suspense, right? Because you got that sort of like bip bip as well, like So it's like
it's reminding me of something that's been playing in my.
It's like you're playing this pokey.
Yeah.
It's got this kind of like that's how the ATM. You know when the money comes out of the ATM, you know that sound. That does like terrible things to me now. I was walking down the street in Footscray the other day, and this guy was getting money out, and it went, and I went, ooh. I'm serious. It's like a triggering sound.
Yeah,
now.
right.
Like,
you heard it too
I'm
much.
not just fucking around. Like I'm serious. Like if I hear that sound when I think I'm not going to hear it, it does some crazy stuff to me. Anyway, I don't know why I felt to add that. I just sort of share that.
It is interesting.
Anyway, so the balance comes up on the screen. So I ask her for a balance. What's the balance?
0.
Balance is $3.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back. So you're just offsetting everything you take.
So I'm like, okay, let's
party.
Let's do another 2. Balance, 2003. Great. Let's do another 2. Balance, 4003. What the fuck?
And
mine just goes, what's going on here?
And no one's calling you from the bank. This is all be going through.
No, this is just, I'm just using ATM at night. They should, like, no one's calling me. No
I
one's
didn't
saying
even know you could transfer money from a credit card to a savings card at an ATM.
You can't. Oh, I didn't know at an ATM.
Well, I
no.
don't think you can anymore.
No, I can't imagine you
And
would
I'm
be
not
able
sure.
to.
I'm not sure if I directly had something to do with that.
I reckon you
But
might
maybe,
have.
maybe. You definitely can't transfer up to 6 figures at a time, which you could on the National Australia Bank ATM. So you could transfer up to $999,000 from your credit card if it was in there to your savings account.
Do you know that because you did that?
Yes, but how are you going to know? How are you ever going to? Even back in 2011, how would you ever use that function? Why would you ever do that? You know, like even if you're like, why would you transfer that amount of money at an ATM?
Yeah.
Like
No,
surely
totally,
you're going
yeah.
into the bank or you're going on the internet banking or you're doing it in some other way. Like that's
Is
ridiculous.
it just a black hole that they've just not?
I think you know, like ultimately, if the money's in your account, then you can transfer it between your accounts on the ATM, right? So if the money's not there, then there can only be a software glitch, right? Like, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, back to it.
I've never actually written notes, by the way, like on a piece of paper. Vedra knows this because what you're explaining now, I've struggled for a couple of weeks to just. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Exactly how that glitch went.
Yeah.
And down to all this stuff. So this is fascinating. I've got it written down here.
Yeah.
Well, as you said, the amounts needed to get bigger. So is that right? You needed to each
so
time.
it didn't have to double, but you just had to work out exactly how much money you'd spent so far.
Right.
So basically, right, if I worked out, so from that point where I've got this $4,000 in the bank, so if I didn't take out any money, so you're doing it at 12:10, right? So a new day's passed, so it's like midnight plus 10 minutes, right? So you're starting a new fresh date, right? So you transfer money on that day. Any time you transfer money on that day, the reversal is going to come between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. the next day, right? But you've got this period of time between the 12 o'clock and the 3 a.m. where you can do another transfer that then's going to do it the next day after that, right? So all you have to do is you just got to stay ahead, right? But I didn't know that this was the case at the time.
Yeah.
And I also thought this was going to end at any point, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think that this was going to go for 4 months and I was going to have to be the one to stop. At this point, I was just like, oh, they're going to cotton onto this real quick. But yeah, that's not what happened. So yeah, so say I'm at that so I've done the first time, and then a couple of days later, I've spent the money, and a couple of days later, I've come back, and then I've gone from the 1997 down, transferred to, made it $3, then made it 2003, then made it to 4003, right? So I'm sitting there. It's like standing there. It's like 12:30 at night, and I've got $4,003 in the bank account, right? So to explain it, if I had have just stopped doing what I was doing, right, then at 6 a.m. in the morning, the account balance still would have been $4,003, right? At 12 p.m. that day, I could have gone into the bank, and the bank teller would have said to me, "You've got $4,300 in your bank."
Yep.
Right. So if I asked for a balance from the teller would look on their machine and they go, that's how much you got.
Yep.
At 6 p.m. that night, right, the same day, I could go into the bank, I could go into the ATM and get a balance. The balance would be 4,003. 12:10 in the morning the next day, I'd go and get a balance. The balance would be 4,003, right? After 3 a.m., sometime between 3 and 5 a.m., that balance, if I did nothing to it, would go down to 1997 minus 1997 again.
Okay.
Right? Because that's how much I'd spent so far. So then I worked that out, right? So then it was literally just transferring money each night, knowing how much money was going to reverse back, knowing how much money I'd spent so far, and then keeping it just above.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Because in the first couple of weeks, it went down because I didn't work it out, right? So I didn't know exactly what to do. So then I just keep topping it up. But what happened was, if it went down by $5,000, then they would put a stop on the account for withdrawals. So I'd have to call up and I'd say, "Hey, Mr. Nab, my account, was in debit, but now it's in credit again. Can you sort it out?" And then they'd go away for a minute, and then they'd come back.
So it doesn't necessarily tell them, there's this unbelievable glitch going on, but
No,
it's starting to present a pattern if
but
you
they
do
know
it too often.
the bank account was in debit, but now I've deposited money.
Yeah.
But they don't know the origin of the money.
You're right.
But that's not their concern. All they need to know is that the account's in credit again now. So I just work it out. So then I'm like, well, I'm not going to let that happen anymore, because I thought, well, if that happens again or it happens too many times, they're probably going to cotton on to something's going on. So then, I just transferred a little bit more than I'd spent each day. I had a little ledger.
Did you write down every beer you bought?
It was like
you have to
surreal.
tally it up with a calculator.
I just knew like a roundabout, and I could check, so I knew how much I'd spent.
So did you have to do this at the exact same time every night?
Well, it's like the perfect chicken.
Well, because I'm thinking about
I didn't try and do it any other time.
What if you're in a nightclub, and you're having a night out? Do you have to go, "Sorry, ladies, I've got to duck out to the ATM"?
Yeah,
Don't mind me.
It's morning in Hong Kong. I got to check the prices.
Yeah.
But
you
if
actually
people
do it?
think you're rich, they don't care. People don't fight on that stuff. They're just like, "Oh yeah, you got to go work."
He's got money and needs to go get more of it.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions.
Yeah. Oh,
It's gotta
no,
go and work.
I mean, you wouldn't, right? Why would you?
Well, it's almost like a bravado with it. "Oh, sorry, baby, I just got to go and do this thing. I'll be back soon."
So good.
No one knows what you're doing. You know what I mean? So it's like,
you walk back in with bags of cash. No one really cares.
no,
Yeah.
no one gives a shit.
Did you embody sort of the guy with heaps of cash at different points?
Oh, it was just the role. It was fun to play that role for
Yeah.
a bit. You feel like, I can't imagine how these blokes feel like there's Cristiano Ronaldo and all these people. It's nuts. It's nuts. I had like a 7-day free trial on being rich. and it was I wouldn't want to be rich though with heaps of houses and responsibility and all that like that. No, I mean just dripping, someone else deals with all that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just moved.
How many houses do you have? Not sure. Don't know. But Brad handles all that, and this is his number. But I don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? That's the level of rich that I'd want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, the 7-day free trial thing is just such a great term for it. But
Yeah.
it did seem like all honesty, I've listened to the glitch that podcast you did, I reckon twice through in full, and just addicted and got to know you pretty well. You strike me as someone. It tore you up a bit. Would you say you were conflicted throughout the whole process? It was like you were having fun, but you were also seemingly you were trying to give a lot. Were you almost trying to offset one from the other? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to ask you?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think it's pretty clear. You know, like what I did with it was I shared it around, not because I'm a good bloke or you think I'm a good, because that's what made it really easy because it was so fun to share in it with everyone. So if you're getting everyone around and going, hey, what's your dream? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Let's go. Whatever you want to do. Like literally just be able to give people, like there's a ute.
What were some of those examples? Yeah, because I can remember a few of them that I just went, oh, that's awesome. Like the homeless person you put up in a hotel in Crown. And
like, when you see a busker, every busker just like $100. Every time you walk past someone who needs cash, you just give it to them.
Yeah.
It's like, like you're all right. Yeah.
Which is something like we'd all, I think when you get in those situations, you walk past, whether it's a busker, whether it's a homeless person, or it's someone who just, oh, geez, I'd love to help you out. You have a conversation. I wish I could afford to do that. It's everyone's dream to go, I'll make that happen for you.
And it was like we were taking money off a bank. Like it wasn't Mrs. Smith. It's the National Australia Bank. Like it can't happen to a nicer bank. Like seriously, like like you go through the Royal Commissions, they like charge dead people. They and phrases like the money wasn't meant to be ours, but yes, it became ours. It's like like they're pricks.
Yeah.
So to you probably know that morally it's not it's not 100% what you should be doing. But then it's like, you've been given this opportunity to stick it, you got chosen. And I just got, I don't know, like every Aussie, just got these funny mates that just make it about them, somehow. Like they just bring it in and just like they're starting to talk to me about, like I'm going, I don't know about this. Like this is a bit bad, And they're just going like, I don't understand. Like, you don't want this to keep going? Like this is the greatest thing that has ever happened to us. And you're like,
to us.
Yeah. And you want to be like, oh, I feel bad about it. Get your head in the game. Or just be like, hey mate, like we might never get this opportunity again. Like this is huge. You need to understand. And then we'd have these big war rooms, where I'd be like, I mean, you've got points, like totally, and they just go, well, at the end of the day, we could go back to, working in a bar and we could go back to like paying our mortgage and there was one bloke, he had a mortgage with NAB and we were paying the mortgage with the bank's money.
So good.
Like, it's crazy. And you couldn't talk about that for a while because it was like, there was a heat for a while, right?
Yeah.
But now, like, whatever.
Is the heat gone?
Well, I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Like, they do whatever they want to.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, if you've got no money, then they can just write their own script. They can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
A current affair said I was on the run when I wasn't even on the run. Like, I was emailing them.
Yeah.
I've got the emails. Like I was emailing them, and at the same time, they're putting things out going, Dan's on the run. We don't know where he is. Call Crime Stoppers.
I'm just up in the Gold Coast.
Wangaratta at the pub.
And like, like me, whatever. Like me, I'm okay. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, righto, whatever. Like the media has like all these codes of ethics and like, the judiciary. The judge actually references the current affair interview in her sentencing remarks. Like it's, like the story they fabricated gets mentioned in court and now it's part of the court documents. So it's like, I see why people have got their tinfoil hat on with the media because it's like, it's not.
There's no accountability there.
Well, and also they'll just inflate stuff and make things different. Like I literally came forward for this for like 3 years. I did an original story with a current affair in 2012. And then in 2014, they act like it's the first time they've ever heard it. Exclusive. Call Dad if you know.
Kidding.
No, they're out of control.
I refreshed my memory on this morning and went back and watched these things. I think the funniest part for me was when you roll in and the almost pretend cop.
Yeah. The guy's been on a desk for 50 years.
Yeah. Comes out, Dan Saunders, you're under arrest. And I think your line was, yeah, right, I know. No
Yeah,
drama.
good on you.
Good on you.
Yeah. Because it's like, you know, but then they collude with the media. Like there's the whole thing was never, I went there saying, oh, is this a civil matter or is it a criminal matter? Because no one would talk to me, right? So yeah, okay, I reenacted a bit of shit because I'm just a positive guy, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to be like, oh, you know, stick in the mud. So I'm like, oh yeah, you know, no worries. But then the bit where I'm asking, hey, this happened a while ago and I've been actually trying to be accountable for it for a while. Hey, like what's going to happen now? And they cut all that bit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they only put the bit where, oh, he's bragging about what he did and, you know, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess in hindsight, like you've got to expect them to do it. But then why have all this stuff about like, you know, ethics and, you know, like why not just go, hey, look, we just inflate stories to get clicks. And that's just what we do.
Because then
Like-
that wouldn't be great for them, and they'd have to come out and
Just
actually
showbiz,
say it.
baby.
Yeah.
Just showbiz.
Well, we were talking about this, not yesterday, a couple of days ago with Tom Morris. He's in the media, but he's in a totally different sort of world to all this, and
It's a
interesting.
tough act to follow, Tom Morris. Jeez, you know what I mean? when you called me, I was like, geez, I don't know if I'm up to this. Like, you know what I mean?
You're right on the same level of media integrity stuff. He's all over it.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
actually rolled us through it really well. I thought he explained it, but in football world versus what we're talking about here, you know, current affairs, this salacious sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's where my gripe sits. I've had a bee in my bonnet for a long time with exactly the scenario that you've just played out, and it's just rinse repeat. And you look back. Don't say the dirty word COVID. I'm not talking about the thing itself, but that period of time, I think it was the most inflated version or an amplified version of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just for everything.
Totally. And but I think it becomes, you know, like, so there's stories, but then there's stories where they actually, like, it actually affects someone's life. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's times when it's like can be a bit of fun. But like that investigation was never a police investigation until 2014. So I did the thing in 2011. And then I tried to come forward for it in 2011 still, like, you know, to the bank. And then in 2012, I just sort of drip fed a bit to the media because I wanted to get the bank to talk to me because they wouldn't say anything. And people say, oh, just forget about it. Don't worry. It's like, well, you forget about it. And then 5 years later, they knock on the door. Like, I just wanted to sort it out. You know what I mean?
You've just been panicking every day. I'd imagine just sitting, you know, the old... think of someone who's just waiting inside at the curtain.
I wasn't quite
window.
in the fetal position, but I was like, you know, like it was still something that sort of weighed on me for sure. But then, so they say in the newspaper and stuff, it's a police investigation, but it never is, right? So in 2014 was the only time when a current affair actually contacted the police. So it's like, what's the media? Is the media police? Or they, you know what I mean?
Super interesting.
Yeah,
Why do
it
you
is
think-
interesting.
Why do you think that is? We kind of chatted a little bit off air about the bank protecting their own public image. Do you think that for those 3 years there between 2011 and 2014, they kind of tried to sweep it under the rug?
I think they did a terrible job, if that's what they were trying to do, because I was trying to call them. And so all they would have had to do...
Sorry, which I found hilarious.
Yeah, but all they would have had to do is... Yeah, but if you look at the whole thing from you know, looking at it from a distance, it looks like I've been the instigator of a lot of things, but I've actually just been trying to get answers the whole time, right? So I tried to talk to the bank, and if they had to come back and said, hey, we're going to scrub this and we're never going to speak of it again, you reckon we'd be sitting here right now? Like, I wouldn't have talked to
In
anyone about
Barbados
it.
watching the cricket.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's, there's not like, the fact that they didn't actually come and just have a chat is super weird. But it also, I reckon, like, what did I find? Because they didn't want to come after me. So, and they didn't want to talk about it. so what was the actual thing I found? Because, yeah, okay, I've gone and had a bit of fun. You know, what if someone else found it, or the Russian mafia, or someone found it who was actually looking to
Maybe it was supposed to be
do
there.
something very malicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was supposed to be there. But yeah, I mean, you get too into it. It's like, you know, everyone goes, oh, put your tinfoil hat away. You know, but yeah, it's very interesting. Their movements was very interesting. The fact they didn't want to talk about it, and then what the evidence that they provided was the exact same bank statements as I gave a current affair.
Right.
So it wasn't
they just
anything
did
new.
not go any
no,
further
no.
than you were willing
But
to.
it was all teed up, see. So it was teed up to not, they didn't have to give any evidence. And that's the only reason they made a complaint.
Right.
So they said, we can do this with the admission and the bank statements. And so we'll get it done. So this guy will shut up or whatever. But what they didn't realize then is that, like, when they were doing the false manhunt stuff, like when I was in jail, I was just thinking to myself, these bastards, mate. Like I was just trying to say what happened. You know? And I don't feel sorry for myself, but I was like, I'm going to get out. I'm going to tell this story. It's going to be a fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, like back then, like if you had told anyone, they just would have been like, you know, fucking good on you, idiot. You know what I mean? But now with the movie deal, you just go, yeah.
Is that happening?
Oh, who knows? You know, Hollywood, they're the biggest, like, they love a chat.
Yeah, right.
They love a chat. Like every now and then they'll just ring and they go, hey, Dan, how you doing? Yeah, I'm just doing the legal process for your contract here for the upcoming Searchlight Pictures film. It's like, yeah, mate, no worries. I'll talk to you again in 6 months.
Tell me about, Dan, the punishment. So you did a little bit of jail time, is that right?
Yeah. So
How
I
long
did
was
12
that?
months.
12
months in jail.
Was that in
Yep.
one of those like proper prison, or were you like farming and
I went-
like sewing stuff? Was it one of making license plates?
So I went into the first prison I went into was Port Phillip.
That's quite a serious one,
which is
Full whack.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So I was there for 3 months.
A few friends of the show in there.
I'm sure.
A few friends of the show might be there.
It's so funny in jail. Like if Collingwood's playing Friday night footy, it's just like pandemonium.
Really?
Oh yeah. All the cell doors are going off. Like every time there's a goal, it's actually quite
So
fun.
you're saying there's a direct correlation between Collingwood supporters and prisons?
Well, look, I think that's well documented. I didn't think I came up with that, but I'm just saying I've been in max security prison, and that's what happens. Like if Collingwood's playing Friday night footy, it's definitely loud. Yeah.
Can you
The
just
other
Stuff
thing
we
that
don't hear about prison.
The other thing that cracked me up was Home and Away. Everyone watches Home and Away.
Really?
Yeah, like they get around the tally and watch Home and Away. I found that quite interesting.
Nice to
But
know
then-
our prisoners who've been a stain on society are living their best life in prison, watching footy.
Well,
and
you know,
Home and
it's
Away.
like a great
you know,
time.
like
Sounds
the
like a
period, you know, the period where it was Brax, and like Brax got into trouble, and he was like, he was a bit of a crim, you know, like
River
I think
Boys were around.
I think
River
it, you know, because you don't see, you don't see normal life, so I can see why it's popular.
Yeah.
I can see why, you know, Neighbours, Home and Away, all that, because it's a depiction of, you know, normal suburban kind of life. And you don't get that in there. So I can see why it's popular. Nothing will prepare you for walking into a prison unit and seeing 50 blokes gathered around a big screen watching Home and Away. Like that's some real good stuff.
That's real.
What was it like? I mean, obviously you're not a violent criminal or anything like that. I'm assuming Port Phillip's got plenty of bikies, you know, and rougher types. You're a pretty humble guy. Seem to like a bit of a laugh. How was that for you?
Oh, it's pretty crazy. Like, so someone came up to me and he goes, "Oh, have you met Julian?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I haven't met Julian. Should I have?" You know? Basically, every moment you're out of that cell, you have literally got your ass towards a wall and you're ready for a fight. Like you just have to be.
Yeah.
It's not like a being tough thing. It's just like a survival thing. Because at any point, one of those nutters could just try and crack your nut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe. That's how it is.
That'd be the thing
And
that would scare me
as-
the most.
as
The
like a-
unpredictable ones.
They'd target you as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
You big fella. They would love to fucking pick on you.
Be champing
But
it around
as
your head within 5 minutes.
an old like risky punter,
Yeah.
it was kind of exciting too. You know what I mean?
There's a pattern
We're sort of
emerging
like
here.
when the cell door opens because they let people in at night.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they take intake and they let people in after you've been locked down for the day. They let people in after that. So if you're in a 2-cell, like they'll let people in sometimes, you know, 11 o'clock at night. And as soon as that door would go, it'd be like, oh, yeah, who have we got here? You know what I mean? It's like massive Maori guy walks in, tats, and he goes, how you going, bro? I'm like, yeah, good. How are you? I'm like, do you want the bottom buck, mate? And he's like, oh, nah, that's all right, bro, no problem. And he gets up there. I'm like, you want to watch anything on the TV, mate? Just go ahead. You just watch anything you want. Settle in. No problem at all, you know? I think maybe my sort of experience in hospitality got me used to dealing with people.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I could see which people were about to go off and I could kind of like be a bit like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be careful of them. But whereas other people don't have that filter, and I think maybe that's what gets you into trouble.
That's disarming people.
Yeah.
Ahead of it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so he goes, we sat up talking for a bit and he goes, what are you in for, bro? I go, just took some money off a bank. He goes, yeah. Yeah, right on, bro. That's awesome. Right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, ask me what I'm in for. I said, oh, fuck. Because there's heaps of traps, right?
Yeah.
There's so many traps. Like they'll ask you stuff, but they want you to say things so they can kick off at you. You know what I mean? So they'll ask you things, but it will be a bait.
Yep.
You know? Right? A bit like the pink shirt in the, you know, like the kickboxer that wears a pink shirt to the pub. Because he wants people to, you know what I mean? Because then he gets to belt them.
Yeah.
That kind of shit.
Yeah, right.
And it's like
Wangaratta sounds gnarly.
full dynamics there, full dynamics. So anyway, I go, no, I don't mind, mate. Like, you know, whatever you did, like, it's all good. You know, no judgment here, whatever. He goes, no, ask me, bro. Ask me. And I'm like, no, it's okay. And he goes, ask me. I'm like, okay, what are you in for, bro? And he goes, murder on the dance floor, bro. I'm like, you're a fucking off your head. And he goes, it's a good joke, eh? He goes, I love that joke. He goes, I tell that joke all the time. He goes, people think I'm a bit, tough because I've got face tats and that, but, like whatever, I'm just tough with the people I need to be tough with, but otherwise I'm a good bloke, I'm like,
And was that your experience with him over time?
That was the first.
What was he actually in for?
Who knows?
Murdering someone on the dance floor.
Probably murder.
Just shanked someone at a nightclub.
Yeah.
Probably.
But that was 100% his joke because of the song. It's just like
Murder on the dance floor.
yeah.
Yeah, I know it.
murder on the dance floor, bro.
Please tell me you said the words, because of the song. This
And I was way too scared.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say what immediately popped in my head to say, which I didn't say, which I wish I had in hindsight because he was a good bloke. I was gonna say, "Hey, you better not kill the groove." but I thought, no, I'll just you gotta be real careful.
hell.
You gotta be real careful.
Mate, so do you, obviously you do your punishment, do your 12 months, whatever that looks like. I'm assuming you probably got a bad credit rating now, whatever the ongoing effects of
Have
that
you
are.
checked?
But what kind of happens, you come out and then you go, fuck, I got to rebuild my life. What does that kind of, next 12 months for you look like?
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of I kind of came out and just kept doing the same things.
Keep going to the ATM.
Not the ATM, no. but I kept doing. I kept drinking,
Right.
gambling, all that sort of stuff. I kind of didn't really sort of change my lifestyle too much straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I found it hard to get jobs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because Google doesn't forget, right? So
Yeah, of course.
Especially when you go on a current affair.
especially and totally self-inflicted. That's right. I don't have
calling them.
you don't have a whinge about that. Like it's just I think it's un-Australian when you got a bloke who's just going, hey, I did the wrong thing. And then to manipulate that is my only issue. And I don't like it because of the fact that there shouldn't be that much manipulation of a story by the media, right? If the media wants people to trust them, they need to report shit as it happens. They don't need to be like mucking around with it. Like you just...
They're getting a horrible reality at the moment with this new form of media rising
totally,
up, and we're kind of a little part of it now. And like what you're doing at this very moment you probably couldn't do to the same extent in 2011.
No, I mean you don't have a voice, and certain parts of the media, like you can't. So it's not everyone in the media, but there is a lot of people in the media who will bullshit the story and make it something that it's not, just because they've got an agenda or whatever else, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely, this is the thing I'm fascinated about with media, because I think it's saying sort of it's a little bit lazy to wipe off the entire industry and every person within it. But that system, that machine that sits behind it, I think I was talking off here about the other day.
But you see, like if you tell the story to other people in the media, then they won't go against themselves either.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's not like no, it's impossible. Like they just wouldn't tell the story the way it happened. But I mean so I'm not complaining, but like getting a job and stuff like
Makes
that.
it awfully difficult.
Like you can't just front up at a job interview and go, I'm Dan Saunders, how you going? Because once you get Googled, it's like, and because there's that stuff out there, people don't have an appetite for the full story. Like they just see the headline and they go, well, of course we can't have you here. And it's like, well, it's fair enough. So I'm overly positive though. Like anyone who knows me will tell you that I'm a little bit too positive at times. So like when I was in jail, I worried about myself for about 15 minutes and then went, a lot of these people can't read and write.
Yep.
A lot of these people got belted when they was kids, and that's the reason why they're belting people now. A lot of people, like I spoke to a guy who like literally his dad told him to chop his dick off every day for like 16 years or something. You know what I mean? Until he eventually like actually tried to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's not normal. Like the stuff that's happening to these guys, and don't get me wrong, it's like if you do something wrong to someone, then you should be in jail. Like I'm not saying that there's another way for that. But what I'm saying is that there's more to the story with a lot. Like they're not just born bad.
Of course.
They're treated like absolute shit between the ages of like 0 and 5. And then by the time they're 6, 7, 8, they're already gone.
This is something
That's what I'm saying.
I used to work in child protection a life before the internet and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The first day of the job, it was it was a pretty complex place I was going into. So 4 kids from very highly traumatized, and by that it's usually abuse, violent, sexual, family related.
Yeah.
His line that's always stuck with me, that sort of speaks to what you're saying, was when you're having these behaviours come at you, you're going to have kids coming at you with knives. You're going to they'll do whatever. They're going to tell you the worst person in the world, fuck you, and you might, if you look at the behaviour and not get curious as to what sits behind that, then you're going to go home. You're going to have a miserable time. You're going to hate this job. But if you can manage to do exactly what you just said then, and not look at the fact there's a bottle coming at you or whatever it is, or insults, and go, what is it? Where's this coming from? Is this deep-seated fear of feeling unsafe because when they were 3, they weren't safe for whatever reason. And it's I think you're saying feeling overly, like you're overly positive, and some might say that's a bad thing. I don't. Personally, I don't think at all. It doesn't sound like there's overly positive people that sort of obliviously walk around the world going, oh sunshine and roses. You seem more curious than that. It doesn't strike me as an oblivious, blind positivity to everything around you.
No, for sure. And I don't, I'm not blindly positive. Like I have been blindly positive at times. And that's usually chasing number 12 at trackside.
I was pretty positive last night.
I was going to ask what you spent the money on, but clearly it's number 12 at trackside.
I'll tell you what, if you get 12 twice in a row at trackside, your life will never be. It's like flying business class and then going back to normal life.
We spoke about where did we want to do the podcast today. We haven't told Vedran. Your idea. Flemington.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if you should just take Travis there. If you get Travis there on a Saturday afternoon at Flemington, just where they're having all those bachelor parties, in the old part there, in the old stand near the winning post, mate, you'll need security. But But
We
yeah,
thought it would be a good idea to just set this whole kit up out at Flemington, and
That's a great
just,
idea.
why not? It doesn't have to just be one podcast. Next time you're in town, or we can just fly our new private jet.
yeah.
that we've acquired from
Yeah.
Saudi friends.
And look, I joke about gambling because I'm a positive person. But obviously, I've had my own issues with gambling, and I help a lot of people now with gambling issues. Not because I'm a good bloke, because I'm passionate about that, because there's literally people killing themselves in this country because of it. And I think when it gets to it's all a bit of fun, but when it gets to the point where you actually want to take your own life, because I spoke to a 16-year-old the other day who isn't even legally allowed to gamble, who wants to kill himself because he's gambled, some of his family's money. So it's there's a little bit of, I can be positive and have banter, but I know there's a real side to it. And I think that, we just sort of need to acknowledge that bit of it. So when, I've been in some horrible gambling situations where, it's just been like, I've got myself out of a lot of ones, and I think that's what actually does more damage than not. When you're into risky stuff with gambling, and then you get yourself out of it. Like I remember, I needed $21,000 once. Otherwise, I was just going to go to jail for sure.
Oh, this is all tied. So
Yeah,
because we didn't really cover that. The
I spent like 24 hours at casino, and like in the 23rd hour, I got like the fast cash or whatever it was back then. I got like the fast cash, I got like $5,000 or something. And then I left there with $25,000, $4,000 up after being down this 21. Went and replaced the 21 out of this safe, this nightclub I was working at. Oof. Some real bad stuff.
This is before the ATM stuff, right?
Is it?
Look,
No.
we can't confirm when that was.
Okay.
Because that's like an active.
Right.
But yeah, you know what I mean? Like just real risky behaviors. That's the point there. And then when you get yourself out of them, it's like,
Justifies it a little bit.
oh yeah.
You can intellectually.
It's like, oh yeah, no worries. Like, remember the last time you got the 8 on trackside? Yeah, it just came up when you needed it. That'll happen again, for sure.
Well, that's why, as you've been speaking, I've just been, again, my pen and my notes, but there seems to be a pattern in a lot of things you're talking about where you do sort of thrill seek, and that you were
Like
talking about it in jail. There's that point of the night when the doors close, and is that a thing? Do you think that's something intrinsically within you that you
I think the
drawn
problem.
to?
I think the problem is I either go hard or go home.
Yep.
So when you said I'll come and do the podcast, we can go for a beer at the corner or whatever. I'm just reading the text and I'm just going, I can't have one beer. Like I'm not, I'm not like, I wouldn't say I'm like, need a beer, but I just love to have 1,000 beers, not one.
I know we're laughing, but I'm
laughing
exactly
I'm
the same.
same. Yeah. And I use that terminology all the time. 1,000.
I've got this mate who just like, he always goes, hey Dan, do you want to go and have 1,000 beers? You know what I mean? Let's have 1,000.
Exactly.
And that's always the goal, right?
It's funny. It's sorry. Just on that, I've obviously had a kid recently, 4 or 5 months ago, and I used to be very much like that. I used to love a Friday. I used to live in Fitzroy. On a Friday, Arvo just going, I've got this whole weekend, and I could just be out all weekend and tap in, tap out, because I lived in Fitzroy. It was perfect. I used to love that shit.
Yep.
Obviously now you got a kid, don't really drink anymore. My partner's like, oh, why don't you just go out for, meet the boys for a beer? I'm like, it's not really the same.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go for one.
Yeah.
It's tough to just go for one.
I'm honestly going through this right now.
Yeah.
Like, let's get vulnerable for
Yeah.
a second. I'm trying to sort it out. Like it's not a like I think you nailed it. Like it's not a oh god, my hands are shaky, I need a beer. It's just if I go to the pub and have one, I don't know if it's an anxious thing or whatever it is, but I want to just keep going, and I can't just have one and then go. Yeah, that's it. It's like once that sort of fun feeling inside you, maybe the week's been stressful, whatever it is, it's like a gateway thing. Yeah, it's a pattern at the moment.
There's a mate of mine who he explains it perfectly. He says, Dan, you've got 22 summers. So basically that means from 18 to like 40, they're your time. That's your time to shine. Right? So you got 22, right? So if you're rich, you got 44 because you can go to Europe as well. But he said literally, you got 22 summers to make a name for yourself.
To make a name for yourself.
That's what he says, right? His name's Roger. He's classic. He always says, whenever we go out, he always goes, mate, we just got to treat ourselves tonight. Like we've got to make sure that we really look after each other.
This is the thing about pissheads, though. They've always got the best sayings, and they're always so compelling and convincing that you're like, "Fuck, you're right."
It's
I
so
do
good.
have 22 summers.
Yeah.
You're already on the edge of all you need is that little push.
And they're the smartest dudes, man.
Yeah, but imagine that with a limitless ATM card.
Oh my
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So you team up that kind of talk with this ATM card.
Was Rog there having a few?
He
beers
wasn't
with
there
it?
at the time. No. but Roger's nemesis, like Roger's protege was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like definitely guys who, and nuts. One guy from Ballarat, absolute nutcase. Like he's like so serious now. He's got a serious job, and he's just like. But back in the day, we used to work Crown Casino together. Absolute nutter, but funny nutter. Not nutter like he was going to get you into massive trouble, but just hilarious. He just knew as far as you could go before it just became too much.
Well, that's an
and
art.
in the middle of it, we're in Collins Street, staying in the Intercontinental in the the presidential suite, and then they got the adjoining room, and it's like looking out, it's the best, right? And he comes down from Ballarat, right? And he's like old, beaten up ute. He does a 180 in Collins Street to the valet, right? So he does a 180 across the street, parks it in front, and then flicks his keys to the valet, right? Because he's got used to it by now, because we've been doing it for a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
Flicks his keys to the valet, and he goes, hey, put it in a good spot, because all this shit happened last time I parked here.
We haven't even gone into these areas.
Which is just a line from the movie Eddie Murphy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is just the same. But he'd always try movie lines all the time. He'd be like flat out, just going, oh man.
And the person on the other end of them would know that line and go, oh, fuck
Wait, how old were
you
you at the time? 2011.
29.
29.
Oh, I'm telling you,
It was prime time.
almost exact science, this 28 stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's exact science.
Yeah.
But I think, God, I don't know how to segue this, but Dyson Heppel, CQ, the fact that you said, the fact that you brought up, I was already just all in on this pod. And from the moment I started the pod and getting your story, I'm texting you the whole time, like every chapter of it, so to speak. I'm going, hey, what about this? But then you mentioned CQ, which I think, when I think of the glory days, I think they all happen in that one building.
That's where you made your name for yourself.
Absolutely. That was it. It's that place. So once you said CQ, I went, nah, I love him.
Is there places like that anymore?
Nah.
Not really, is there?
They can't be.
It-
Because we know about them.
Yeah, that's right. What happened? It was Dyson Heppel. I think that you told a story in there that something about shouting drinks and, it's on me, and all of a sudden you had the whole Essendon football team surrounding you.
Mate, it was so much stuff that happened. Like you can go back through it, and it's just like, because we wanted each day to be better than the last day. So that was kind of the war room chat. And so, yeah, some of the craziest moments. You gotta be careful because I jump from thing to thing. So I'll answer this about the.
You're in good company then.
Yeah. So we'll just let
Let it go.
Yeah. Like it's like when you shout the drinks, the bar takes on a whole new thing.
Yeah.
So it's just the best. Like I don't want to the more and more that I tell the story, the more and more conscious I am of being this old fart who just goes, oh yeah, back in the day.
That is exactly what this whole thing is. All of us. Like you've nailed this whole thing.
Yeah. But when you have money like that and you can just transform the whole bar, right? So you could go into like Young and Jackson's, right?
Yeah, yes.
Now everyone would be there, whether there's a footy game or whatever. Like on a Saturday, there'd be people there. Now you can bring everyone together. So you start just going, you go, hey, and it was back in the day, you can't do this shit now, but you could just walk in and go, hey, can I have 50 shots of Jaeger?
Jaeger as well. It's such a 2011 thing.
And the barman would just be like, yeah. You know,
You sure can.
because he get divorced. You know, and there's Obama, and they like to line them all up and stuff.
Yeah,
and they'd
The big
be
moment.
into it straight away.
Yeah.
they'd be like, and then you tip them before, and then they go from being like, oh, just another day at work to like, oh, we're on here. Like this is
You change the energy of
you
the
change
whole
the energy of
building.
the whole joint.
Yeah.
That's it. And I don't think I've actually said that out loud before because I've never actually spoken to people who get it. But I can tell by your eyes, like I know that you understand this stuff because you can transform the energy of a whole venue. And that is actually why I was put on this earth, actually.
To change those
To
energies.
change energies in venues and make it a crazy place. that is 100% my favourite thing to do.
Yeah.
Ever.
I used to be a nightclub promoter for
Did you? Yeah.
many years, so that was also my motto.
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
here to change the energy.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't, but I know exactly what you're talking
But
about.
with the means, you can do it.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So if you start walking up to people with this tray of Jaeger and just go, hey, grab a couple of shots. And firstly, they sort of just go, like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Or they look at you like, what's the catch?
Mm.
But then you do it like 3 times and then everyone's into it, right?
Because there's
They're
that
like,
energy at the start there. Is you almost go, I'm taking myself back to the glory days here going, end of the week, like I was saying before, and you're kind of shitty and skeptical of everything around you a little bit of the first beer and kind of still in that, look at those fucking people over there.
Yeah,
Look at those
yeah.
people over there. But if someone comes out with 50 Jaeger bombs and says, this is all on me and the next 50 are on me too.
Hey, not Jaeger bombs, just Jaeger.
Jaeger,
Not made of money. No Red Bull too.
This is pre-nightly transaction. That's later. that
way to a heart
changes the
attack.
whole thing.
Yeah, no, you're right though. Like you totally. Yeah.
This whole disgruntled, I don't like everyone around me all of a sudden turns into
stuff
we're
everyone
all here together.
And you see it in a venue. Like if you go into a venue, there's ultimately like people who are divided still. Like they're in the same joint, but it's like, they get a bit funny if you talk, especially now.
Yeah.
Like you get a bit funny. They get a bit funny when you talk to them. Like if you walk up to a group of guys and go, "Oh, g'day, mate. How you going?" Like they'll look at you like you're a bit weird.
totally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe you are a bit weird. I don't know, but it's not normal, right? But then it's Aussies, right? And that's what happens with Aussies. But then you get the backpackers involved,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just
They're my favourite,
Great.
to be honest. They
pandemonium.
They do. I mean, don't let me speak to you. What was your experience with backpackers?
Oh, so like just loose, just really loose. Like they just want to, like they come for a year, whatever. They've got a gap year and they're whatever they're doing. They're just you insert like because they got no money usually. So you insert money into a backpacker's situation, they really lose it.
The ultimate release.
Yeah.
And they're that disarming thing again.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
you
they're
go
not
and
in
go
their
to
own
another-
country. Right?
Yes. You go to another country and all of a sudden
Just
everyone's the best.
Absolute maddies, and they'll just do anything. So when you got
Like?
so you got but you got my mates who are nuts, and then you've got them who are nuts,
Yeah.
and then you marry it together.
Yep.
So you got Roger
And they're doing
and
all
these
sorts of shit.
backpackers.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sitting at the blackjack table trying to make a name for myself. And everyone around me is doing all sorts of stuff, random stuff. Like we're at what is it? Gold Coast Casino. Beautiful venue. Star. What a place.
Yeah, it's
Gorgeous place.
It's like the Ringwood RSL almost.
It is.
Sort of that level.
It is. And there's this promotional barrel, right? Big gold barrel on the stage, right? All the grandmas are putting their pokey vouchers in there to win, whatever it was, a car on the Sunday night or whatever. Anyway, so I'm playing blackjack and I just hear out of the corner of my ear, Mark, nutcase, talking to Corey, nutcase, talking to this backpacker, nutcase. And she sort of fancied herself as a bit of a boxer, right? And she was saying, I'm pretty tough. And Corey's just like, look, I'll give you $500 if you go and get that barrel and just turf it into the middle of the gaming floor.
Took a sip at the wrong time there.
So she goes, no problem. He goes, $250 now, $250 after the job.
There's a flaw in this.
And so she walks up and then she holds this barrel, this gold barrel above her head and goes, see, I told you I was strong, like this. And then just heaves this thing into the middle and just this almighty crash. Like, just this,
Actually launched it.
Yeah, she just launched it, and then it was just like, pff, and then security just from everywhere just pounces on her. Like, you know, in the casino when there's a big issue, like something big happens, the security just swarm.
They come out of the walls.
So you got like 10 guys just like converge on this, like when Trump got shot. You know what I mean? Like, right? So I'm just watching from a distance, and I'm like, oh, we'll be leaving shortly. No problem. But because I was gambling so much, they didn't want to tell me to go. And they knew that I was with them, right? So you got the pit boss arguing with the security, going, no, they're
He could
right.
stay.
They're right, they're good. You know, and it's the Gold Coast Casino. It's not like they don't get people spending like heaps of money all the time. So I'm, you know, we're like, you know, just
It's good pay for
fast
there.
and cash out. So they want to sort of keep us there.
Yep.
So yeah, it was just interesting, but it's just stuff like that, just random shit like that all the time, you know. And a random thing that actually is not related, but I'll just say it anyway, that pops in my head. That same guy, so I work out I can actually take out money in the branch. So you know how I said before, I can go and get a balance in the branch. Like I can take out money in the branch. So I can walk in there and get 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, whatever.
How's the ticker going the first time you did that?
Oh yeah, like crazy. But what happened once, we're in Chapel Street.
Oh, pause, is it?
Yeah.
I can't tell if you're frozen or you're just staring at the screen down. Oh, no, you moved. I was watching your frame.
Oh, okay.
After 1 hour, the screen shuts off.
Oh, okay.
Did you shit yourself a bit? I did.
It doesn't stop recording though.
No, still recording.
No,
That's good.
Just,
It's just like went to sleep.
Yeah.
that's it. That's nice.
Yeah, go for it.
We're busting this whole time.
Yeah,
Started.
it's good. It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, cool.
This is awesome. Like, I'm just enjoying shooting the shit with you.
Yeah.
Like I had some stuff written down, but
well,
it's just stuff I didn't
mean-
want to forget.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
which
yeah.
what we just talked about it in different ways.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
over there.
It's always best when it's organic anyway, though.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
But
Well, hopefully we can, hopefully we can keep chatting because
Absolutely.
I don't think the story's going to go away.
well,
I think it's a weird thing. Like it just keeps. I don't actually do anything with it, but it just sort of keeps kind of evolving.
It keeps coming back and
Yeah.
I
And
mean-
like there's like book publishers like just involved now, and it's like there's like more going on with it. So it
yeah, right.
doesn't seem to end.
Well, I'm bloody fascinated. Obviously, there's what happened and everything, but you're a fucking good, very interesting bloke. Like, you got to like,
But it's interesting, like, it's like there's not enough chats where it's just people are just normal people, like
Yeah.
it's normally like someone's got an agenda trying to push something,
and that's kind of like when we got into media a bit before. I'm like, oh, I could stay on this for hours.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, but you got to be careful because it's like if you mix, I find if you mix the engaging stories with that stuff, it weaves. You know what I mean? So you don't have to go hard.
Yeah.
And you don't have to tell people,
just
hey,
in-
this is what I want you to know. You
Yeah.
just sort of interweave it.
Because then, to your point before, like you're then becoming like you've got an agenda.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Whole thing was about
Exactly.
let's take the
Yeah.
media down.
People
and-
don't want to be preached to.
No,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like when they feel like it's preachy, they're just like, nah. not
that's what I
interested.
found doing all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's essentially just been like my diary.
Yeah.
For 10 years.
Yeah.
And being able to have this anonymity that I didn't think I was going to have the audience with it.
Yeah.
As it sort of evolved, it just became kind of like addictive and empowering to
Yeah.
just be able to go, I can't, I can't say this shit anywhere else. I will get fired if I even, and it's not like I'm saying horrible bloody, like things like racism, sexism, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not that, but it's just some stuff that where else am I going to say it? And it just became addictive. And even like we'll just, while you're gone, Veg, talking about the media and, no one wants to be preached to. And that's, I've absolutely found that with the page itself. Like when you try and get a point out, it's like, just be careful not to be going, if I talk, for example, talk about mental health, I'm not going to jump on and I don't know, what's an example of people who do this? All of a sudden I'm the messiah of mental health and I need everyone. I'm above it now because I've got myself right and I'm going to tell you what to do now to be me.
Yeah. No, exactly.
That's that because I guess that preachy thing is what shits me when it comes back the other way.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
but you still got things to say, and there's still messages to give. But it's like, you've got to have an awareness around who's ready for those and how you deliver them.
That's it. That's an interesting one too. Who's ready? Because you can't when you're talking on scale. It's like, fucking, how do you know? So if you go too hard in any one direction, it's almost a little bit irresponsible. But it's a balancing act.
Yeah, sure.
We actually just kept talking in the end.
Oh, you did? Great. All right. Well,
Virgin just had a piss.
I just went and had a piss. Sorry, guys. If we wanted to keep rolling there. I had a question for you around, you said you got a 7-day free trial of being very, very wealthy, right? Yep. I think a lot of people think that money will solve all their problems, right? So, which we know is not true, but
Yes, it is.
Yeah, says the guys who are trying to get funding from
Our friends in Qatar.
Our friends in Qatar,
Yes.
or anyone with big oil money. How do you view money now? What was that period like in that sense? Like, obviously, you had all the money in the world, literally, probably. How did you feel then versus how you feel now, and then how do you view money now?
Yeah, I think money is like, it's just absolutely essential, obviously. But I think you can have an idea around what you want that to look like, right? And I think a lot of those ideas can sometimes be what other people want. So, someone might, if you're doing a job that, it's not what you are meant to do, the people around you are real happy with the fact that you're doing it and you provide for your family and all that kind of thing, then no one's going to fight you on doing that. But if you know it's not right for you, if you do what your purpose is in life and what you feel is the true path for you, then you can't lose. But that might not involve having heaps of money, and you just got to be cool with that. So I think there's some people are absolutely meant to do the things they're doing, and they earn a lot of money. But then on the flip side, not everyone can earn heaps of money. So it's like, it doesn't work because if everyone had heaps of money, then everyone would own, 85 St. George's Road.
Yeah.
And, that's not possible.
Yeah.
We need people to live in the commission flats. Like, we can have the dream. We don't need the commission flats because everyone can be rich, but it's not actually true. Right? So we need to be real about it. So you can do things like, if you do stuff, but it's not actually who you are as a human being and you don't actually get behind it, and the only reason you get behind it is because there's a load of cash at the end, then eventually that will grate on you so much that, you'll have a crisis at some point.
Yep.
There'll be some point that there's no truth to what you're living. So, So, I mean, that's how I feel about money. Like, I don't hate it. I would rather fly business class than, economy class because, I'm 6 foot whatever. And, it's nice to be able to lie down, on the way to Europe. But the point is that not everyone can lie down on the way to Europe. So, it's a construct. Money's a construct. It's something that human beings made up. It's not actually real, but the story behind it is so followed that that's just what we've got, right? So you look back through history, there wasn't always money. Money is like a kind of recent thing.
It's just a trading currency. We would trade things before money existed.
Bartering,
Yeah, that's it. So it's not, we don't need it to stay alive. We do in this current environment, but ultimately you got to look at it as it's a construct that was made to ultimately, it's on one hand it's a form of ease, but on one hand it's like, it's a good way to control people as well.
Yes.
Because it's like, people will do certain things for it and, conform for it. You know what I mean? So it's,
absolutely.
It's interesting.
I think I've been on both ends of that, even like in this condensed, like probably the last 3 years, having these extreme examples of exactly what you're talking about. Going from a job that, it was a good job, I liked it, and then once I got into something else that was really, when I look back at it, I convinced myself that it was a whole bunch of other things, but it was just to get ahead financially, and it was that soul destroying feeling of I'm not doing
Yeah.
what I should be doing here, and all of a sudden I've got a little diary because I can't say this stuff to anyone.
Yeah.
I just know I should be at this point. So says the construct that you're talking about. I'm supposed to be doing this amount of money, have these possessions by 28 years old.
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell I was. And then somehow this thing blowing up, and it actually earned me a lot of money at one point from okay, that was the thing I didn't think would. I thought that was what is going on here. But then that not feeling like it was being authentic all of a sudden. And then football popping up. This was only in the last sort of 4 years, where I went from earning quite a lot of money and I should have been. I had this guilt thing of like, I should be stoked. I should be leaning into that then. But it wasn't what I'm doing now, and I dropped it all. All the money gone out the window to coach football for free. I didn't earn a crust at all for 2 years of that. I just loved it so much. It was my passion piece, and had some unfinished stuff, and I just wanted to do it because I just never second guessed it at all at any point in it. It's nuts. It's just speaking. It's kind of. I'm almost doing a little bit of therapy. It's just you're making sense of a lot of things for me.
Yeah.
And for what I'm doing right now, it feels the same way as it did when I went to footy. Only this time around, because I guess I'm passionate about it. I use that. I'm being myself. I'm all this sort of stuff. So it's interesting what you're saying. I know that feeling you're trying to capture there, and I'd imagine everyone has that at different times. And you're still balancing. Or I'm still balancing that. And Vedra and I every day we have to talk about the balance of financially. We need to keep the wheels spinning. The balance sheet, yes. Like all the jokes about all this Saudi stuff and whatever aside, it's like we're constantly battling or balancing that. We need to bring this amount in so that we can do the things that are real and authentic to ourselves and express and do all this stuff that we want to do. One needs the other. So I guess money's not everything, but not having it seems to be at different points.
Yeah. I think the most miserable I've been in my life was when I was earning the most money. Right, like that's something I found super crazy, you know. And I was telling you earlier, my partner and I both quit our jobs to go traveling for 6 months. That was on the back of that, you know. Both had really great jobs, earning a lot of money, and then we were like, "Fuck, we're both miserable," you know. So we escaped from that, you know. And then I went and started my own business, and now I'm loving what I'm doing. But I think for me that, you know, I really feel sorry for people that aren't in a position to give something a go. And I think some of that position's often self-inflicted, right? Like I think really when you think about what you need to survive, it's fuck all, right? Like it's really, really not much. You probably, if you're earning 70 grand a year, like that's enough to kind of get by, I would say, in a lot of situations. Maybe not in Sydney if you want to live in Sydney, but in a lot of places of the world it is, right? So anything beyond that is just like, well, what am I doing with this, right? It's like it's either just money in a bank account, or maybe it's buying, you know, maybe it's flying up the front of the plane once you're earning 200-300 grand a year. Like outside of that, it's just, they're all just additional things. But if you're feeling miserable for that for me just didn't stack up. You know, I couldn't kind of rationalize that in my head.
Yeah, no, totally. And it actually impacts the people you meet as well. So if you're doing something just for money, then I find that it impacts social circle, and you're probably actually not meant to meet those people, but you do because you're, you know, in the same pay grade and hanging around the same bars or whatever. But it's actually not your path. But you've changed your rhythm and your path just because you're making decisions based on money. And then, you know, you just end up in a spot that you weren't meant to be. Yeah. Like that's sort of what I feel. But yeah, I think at the start, like, with me, there was this big self-sabotage thing as well. Like now I understand the value of money. I know that you need it. I know that, you know, you've got to do a certain amount, you know, to contribute to be able to earn it. I get all that. But I think the point is that it changes our movements too much. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you can get to the point where you subconsciously even, you're just making the decision based on where you'll end up. But quite often that's how you stay, you know, poor as well, because you worry about the money. Like if you guys went, oh, we've got to find this amount for rent a week, and then you attach your business to that figure, Like you're just hamstringing yourself. Like
Yeah.
if you think about like what you've got to pay for and then operate just from that point, like you've just got to find what your purpose is, what the value you bring is, and the money comes. Money just comes. It doesn't, you don't need to think about where it's going to come from, because if you're doing something is ultimately your path and what you were put on this earth to do, I believe that everyone has something they were meant to do. I believe that there's like probably 1% of people who are maximizing that.
Yeah.
The rest of it is all ideas they're getting from other things. But yeah, like when because you see it with the people who are really tapped into what they're meant to do, the money's secondary. And they might be super rich, but the money's secondary. Like they wake up, they do,
So true.
they, they do the same thing every morning. They wake up at, the really wealthy people I know wake up at 4 a.m. They do the same thing. They'll do this, they'll do movement, they'll do stretching, they'll do this, they'll look at the same, portholes of information. They'll talk to the same people. They'll go, they build every day. They just build, and from the exterior, it looks like, oh, gee, they're lucky. But it's like, I look at them, I'm like, okay, you're mad.
Yeah.
Like, you're not lucky. You're fucking mad.
Yeah.
Like I see what you have to do to get that now. And I'm like, whereas I never saw that. And if the glitch thing didn't happen there, I wouldn't have never have met those people. And I would have still had the ideas that I had, right? So they're mega wealthy, but they don't do the things from a place of they need the money. They do it like, it's like a discipline thing. It's like, I'm going to do this. And then they don't care how a deal goes because they know how it's like a cycle. They don't care if they lose here because they know they'll win here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've just got that many things floating around. And yeah, you learn a lot from it because it's like you don't even have to be uber rich, but if you live like that, where you ever got in a cab, right? And they're like, that's only down the road. Like you go, oh, I want to go to, you're in Richmond and you want to go to, wherever. Like, you get on a Swan Street and you go, oh, can you take me to the MCG, mate? I've never done that, but similar.
Yep.
And they turn around and go, mate, I met this cab driver once, right? It was actually an Uber, right? But he was a cab driver.
Right.
For 20 years, he was a cab driver. And it's when Uber just started, right? I jumped in the Uber. And I go, how long have you been driving Uber for, mate? And he goes, oh, a couple of months. I'm like, I was a taxi driver 20 years, right? And this is the point that the taxi drivers are still like, picketing, going, Uber's illegal, right? And he says to me, mate, when you know, sometimes you just got to go, right? And so he's just like, you've got to pivot and you've got to move, right? So if you see the way something's going, then you got to go. And that might not seem like it relates yet, but just bear with me for a sec. So I'm in the cab and he's talking about the short fares. And he goes, one day, it's like the Italian bloke. And he goes, one day I'll go to Smith Street, Collingwood. Smith Street, Collingwood. And the guy gets in and he's like, oh, I just want to go up the road. And I'm like, oh, it's only 2 Ks or whatever. He goes, yeah, I just want to go up the road. I go, yeah, no problem. He goes, any fare, no problem. I'll take him wherever you want to go. And he eyeballs me, right? I'm like, watch the road, mate. And he eyeballs me and he goes, any fare, I take it, mate. I'm like, okay, nice, no worries. I was back in, jail with the Mary. Anyway, right. So he goes, any fare, I take it. I'm like, okay, all right. Is there? Would you like to elaborate? Is there more of a story? He goes, mate. What I'm trying to say is, if you go 2 Ks, who cares? You might get to a place where they want to go 50, right? And then you might go another 10, and then they might want to go 100. You know what I mean? You don't know what the universe plans for you. So basically he's saying, if you get a short fare or you get something that's not going to make you much money, don't worry about it. Because ultimately, if you worry about it, you're going to actually stuff up the next move.
You're sitting around cherry picking.
I like that.
Because he's going, oh, he was the most, it was like a random event, like years ago. You know how stuff just sticks with you? Just sticks with you. I'm in the cab now. I'm in the cab with him now.
Yeah.
He starts going on about Eddie Charlton, right? And I'm like, Do you mean the pool
The pool
player?
player,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He goes, yeah, Eddie.
Who?
He goes, Eddie Charlton. He goes, superstar. It's like, yeah, he's good. He goes, but you know why I like him? I go, because he's like a world champion of pool, amazing player, snooker, He goes, no, because he always 4 steps ahead. He always 4 steps ahead, thinking. I'm like, oh, right, okay.
I'm in this cab right,
Right?
now, by the way.
Yeah.
I've transcended.
But it's never left me. Like, he's totally right. Like, even if there's a short term, you think, oh, it's not going to get me anywhere, mate, it absolutely could. You know what I mean? And if you start thinking like Eddie Charlton and go, you know what? I'm not on the brown ball yet, but where the fuck is the white ball going to be when I'm on the brown ball? Where am I going to put the brown ball when it's time? And once I've done the brown, where am I going to put the black? You know what I mean?
Yes, I'm applying this to a lot of things we've
It's
just
so
been talking
good.
about.
Such good, and that's from a guy, who's like seemingly got this, job that, no one cares about. Oh, you're a taxi driver. Oh, you drive Uber. You know what I mean? Like, it's incredibly insightful. You know what I mean?
A lot of people won't do things like that from a place of almost ego. No, I should be here, like I was sort of getting at before. No, I'm supposed to be there, so I can't do that. A part of this whole arc you're talking about of the story, but in different.
But then
pages of this thing, you're never going to get to the end of it.
Yeah.
So,
but then you insert mum and dad who's saying, hey,
yes,
you really should go back to uni,
I feel like for me, my mentality's changed too. I know, at risk of sounding like that Meghan Markle podcast that she did. That,
go on.
I'm not a long-term listener of that one.
No.
Good
It's
clips
like
out of it.
a meme coming out of it. At risk of sounding like a really cliche quote, but I actually really like it, which was the happiness of pursuit rather than the pursuit of happiness. And that really stuck with me because always in my life, I've always wanted to like build shit, create shit. From when I was a kid, I was selling shit out of the boot of the car. I used to work the markets with my old man when I was
Car boot sale.
Yeah, 100%. Used to do everything, like all that shit. Like I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always loved making money in different ways. But for me, I've realized that that's actually enough, right? I used to go, I got to get to this point where like, I have enough money that I don't have to do that. And I'm like, that'd be fucking miserable. I'll be so miserable if I don't have something to wake up to every day that isn't chipping away and building towards the next thing. Like I hate those people that are like, that FIRE, financial independence, retire early. There's this whole group of people.
Never heard of this.
No, there's this whole group of people that want there's the FIRE movement. It's like
Yeah, okay.
financial independence, retire early. Couldn't think of anything worse than retiring at
It's not Fire Festival.
No.
Baby to it.
Oh, sorry.
That's good.
That guy's selling that, by the way. You should buy it.
Sounds great. Send me their prospectus.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, it's always been like, it's not about getting to any one point of a goal. That I felt like would bring me that happiness or contentment. It's always just having something to do. It's like even this podcast. It's like, cool, Dan's on. This is great. Like, what's on next? Who else do we get on from here? Like, I really enjoyed that process rather than like, let's get on fucking LeBron James and call it a day and then we'll be done. It's not that.
Yeah, it reminds me of a clip on YouTube I watched where it's got the Roadrunner and the Coyote, and the Roadrunner catches the Coyote, and then he doesn't. Like his life's purpose gone.
Yeah, totally.
And he gets a job at like, Burger King or whatever. and like the guy's going, I said Diet Coke, and he's like, oh, sorry, sir, And he's like, and he goes from this point of being so overjoyed, like, oh, how when you really work for your meal, like how good that is, and and then he gets to the point where he's just about to kill himself.
Yeah.
And he's talking to his friend about it. And he's like, yeah. And so I was sitting there in that catapult and I was just about to end it. And then it came to me. It's the whole reason for living. He said, oh, yeah. And what was that? And he said, if you've got about 45 minutes, I'd like to talk to you about the Lord Jesus Christ. No, but it's a great clip.
That's cool.
It's a great clip. Like, it's just, it's really like, like once you get there, like we're always getting there, right? And it's like, it comes back to that positivity thing. Like, if you go to jail, okay, it's bad, but you could teach someone to write, or you could, you know what I mean? And it's not, yeah, like you just make the best of the situation. You know what I mean? So it's like I got out of jail and I was like, well, I can't really get jobs. I can't, well, I'm just going to tell this story, right? So now sometimes, like people understand that. They go, okay, well, you had an ATM card and that was pretty crazy, but now like you're over it and you sort of learnt from it. You knew that, you sort of got to your moral compass and you know what it was wrong. You admitted to it, whatever. I can appreciate that. So that's an in, you know what I mean? So they go, yeah, I'll give you a go. You know what I mean? So, but if I had kept it at like ATM cheat, jailed, and then that was the only thing that was there, then it would have been like my whole life, it would have come back being like this terrible thing, right? But now it turns into like other stuff where we can just like, I was talking to this guy about a TV series, like an Australian TV series, because the movie would be American. But Australian TV series is like right up my alley because it's like, that would be fun. You know what I mean? Like it'd be fun to do that because it's like, you could get the Aussie, style in
the guys in prison could watch it as well after Home and Away.
Maybe in the Outback pub, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it'd be great. Like it'd be fun. And that's all basically I want this to be, is people just to be like, yeah, well, you can do some pretty crazy shit for money, or money can change our movements a bit. But also, like, isn't it fun to stick it to the man a bit sometimes? Like that's all I want from this. I don't want anything else. Like I don't want to walk down the street and people to go, oh, Dan, and, oh, will you sign this for me? Like, I'm just a normal dude. Like I'm not, And so this part of life and then my normal life is completely different now. It's just a different thing. But yeah, the point is like, the point basically is that, you just got to run your own race and be positive with every shit position, seemingly crap position you get put in. And if you do that, then the world opens up. Like it's just, once you sit there and wallow in it for too long, the world's got no time for you anymore.
You're dead right. God, there's a million things within that whole sentence you just said that I'm going, oh, man. Even just that last bit, sitting there and wallowing in it, I think at different points of my own life, I can, absolutely attest to that. This is probably me cutting stuff out here. I'm just talking to you. I think you just hit me between the eyes with a few things.
No, but when you're like, when you're feeling, down or whatever, or depressed or whatever, you just got to move your body. Like you just got to go and move your body. That's the only thing you can do. And as soon as you stop and start, drinking too much or whatever, or thinking, like this is the end or whatever, if you keep, it's amazing how your body resets. Like if you literally just, I must have looked absolutely stupid because like I would get like really down but I just forced myself to go running in whatever attire I was at the time. You know what I mean? So I just would have been running down the street in, like a...
Just got to do it. Got to move.
Got to move. Yeah. Have to move. And once you get that heart rate up and you start like panting, then it's like changes. Your whole thing changes. And if you do that over and over again, it's like you just can't be in it for too long. So, but it's an interesting one. But it's like, you has to be self-responsibility there where you go, I've got to actually get myself out of this. No one's here. There's 8 billion of us. Like, we've all got a story, but you're not more special than the next person. So, you either go, oh, it's not for me, and you don't participate, but you don't get to sort of whinge then. Like you just don't participate.
It's a conscious decision that needs to be made.
And that's fine. And you sort of go, well, I'm just opted out, so it's all right. But there's always, if you're moving to help yourself or move forward, there's always someone who'll help you.
Absolutely. Doubling back on at the start there, you were talking about. I just find it interesting that through your whole story and coming on here, barely really touched on wild stories and all that sort of stuff. It kind of speaks to what you're saying, that our interest has been in almost what it did to you emotionally, intrinsically who you are, and that seems to be like I think personally I wouldn't have been as interested in this if it was, as you were saying at the start there. Just, there's a guy who got an ATM card that gave money out, did some wild shit. It's like, cool, that's great. I think that's what's drawn me in, is some of these insights that you've been talking about today and what you even haven't spoken about. It's listening to you, it's quite literally in front of both of you. I'm having a bit of a therapy session myself. Like I'm not sure if you've ever been told this, but you have a way of kind of putting that on people when you're speaking. You're encouraging people to sort of look within themselves a little bit when you tell your story. So thanks, I guess, for that.
Well,
I'm probably going to walk out here going,
Oh no,
I feel like I know myself a little bit better somehow through that. It's interesting.
Yeah. Look, I don't think that's just been a result of being through the process. Like, I don't think I was ever like that before. I think that's just what it's evoked, like that's how it, yeah. But like, we're all on this journey. Like, who knows what it is? Like, people talk about death as being like this terrible thing. And like humans, we don't know anything really. So it might be awesome. like it might be this
That's
thing.
that
It might be this awesome thing we don't even know about though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but it's just these things like religion that have made it this like really, sort of like, bad thing. So
Takes the
don't
curiosity
get me wrong.
out of
I don't want to, I don't have a wish to find out like, straight away, but but it's, like
You're open to the idea.
you know how like this is going to sound real out there, but you know how like a bear knows to come out of hibernation because of the moon?
Mm.
Like, you can't tell me that we're meant to just do a job and pay the mortgage and like that's it. Like, there's got to be more to it. When a bear can like literally wake up after months because the moon's comes from a certain spot.
Yep.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? There's
I
gotta
reckon
be
I've
more
used that
to it.
exact analogy with myself.
Really?
Since,
Yeah.
like I've
Yeah.
quit school about upwards of 10 times actually.
Yeah.
And finally stuck with it after year 11.
Yeah.
But I've just never thought that that's it. Just whatever was going on, whether that's a byproduct of my old man being who he is and mum being, they march to the beat of their own drums. They just sort of do their thing, and they're unapologetically proud of it, and they sort of encourage me in that way. And I've just never really, I understand systems and things and how we're supposed to move and shake in different areas of life, but I've just never been able to just sit there and go, yeah, okay, I can form. Like, it's not to say I'm Rage Against the Machine. It's just like intrinsically, I don't have it.
Yeah, I think there's a level of health to want to question things. Like, you don't need to get like real. So I think there's a whole group of people that really try and push their agenda on everyone and go, "This is what's happening." You know what I mean? Like, I just don't like the righteousness of that.
Yeah.
Like, this is how it is. Like, I can't stand people who tell other people how it is.
Yep.
It's like, no, because it's different for everyone how it is. Like, you might not find, that you want this certain thing from life, whereas this person might want this certain thing or whatever, like, it changes. It's not, it's a case by case basis. But yeah, it's all that stuff's super interesting. But yeah, the point is that it's like, I could sit here and I could tell you crazy stories the whole time. Like, if that's what you want to hear, we could just go from crazy story to crazy story, and that's it.
Jeez. Do we wrap? What do we do here? We could keep talking. This is the danger. We could keep talking.
We could keep talking for many
Joe
hours.
Rogan style for the next 4 hours.
I think we're at about nearly 2 hours. So
It's a fair helping, but as you were having you relieving yourself in the bathroom earlier, Veg, having a piss.
Yes.
We're saying this should not be the only time Dan comes
mate,
in.
I would love to have you on again for sure.
Yeah.
I think we can just unpack the world's problems.
So
bloody oath.
so you're talking maybe 20 minutes weekly from now on? Is that
Yes.
Please.
If you're
We're going to be up in Byron next month, so
We are.
let's do
Mate,
come out your way and do a little.
Let's let them decide. You know what I mean? Like,
let them
look,
decide.
at the end of the day, if they hate it,
I know what's
then
going to
won't
come back. I know what's going to come back.
what you're saying here, and I'm going to speak directly to a few names I know from inside that phone. Well, Samuel Serve. What do you think, Sam? 20 minutes a week. Samuel Serve is like and there's Ant. 2828. There's these people are my friends. EB Fits with a Z. 20 minutes a week. 20 minutes a week. We should go up to Byron because Veggie's actually going up there for a month. I don't think we got to that point of telling you. I was going to hijack you. I was going to come to your house.
No, I'm going to be up there for a month. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So maybe we can do a little recap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to do something on the beach though. You got to have something like happening at Byron at the lighthouse
Under the
or
moon,
something
yes.
like that.
just
Yeah,
chakras aligned, tinfoil hat on.
yeah, that's right. You go and get a mushroom hot chocolate or something.
I'm all about that. Bit scared of mushrooms at the moment. That's for another day.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Victorian.
Yeah,
no?
when we come to your place for
good.
dinner.
Yeah,
Absolutely petrified.
great risotto.